What does Visit FM do for Fargo-Moorhead area, and what is your role specifically with Visit FM?
First of all, thanks for having me.
Yes,
Very excited to
thank
be
you.
here today. Again, strange having grown up with Ben's parents. It's like crazy when you're working with your friends' kids, but very exciting and love what you're doing to especially talk to a younger audience, which is awesome.
Thank you.
So can I give a little background first?
Yeah.
Because people are always wondering why I moved from California to Fargo to do this role. Grew up in Gwinner, North Dakota. My dad worked for Bobcat for 35 years. And after high school, went to MSUM, so I'm a dragon. We didn't call it MSUM then, but
Okay.
obviously now. And then worked a couple jobs, but the last big job I had before I left Fargo was actually working for Visit FM, or what we used to call the Fargo-Moorhead Convention and Visitors Bureau. That is our technical name, but somewhere along the line, they've changed it to Visit FM, which is very much what is in the industry. Visit Anaheim, visit Orlando, visit really easier for people to understand what you do. I was here for about 6.5 years, and then, late 20s, had an opportunity to spread my wings and go experience other parts of the world, and never thought I'd end up in Los Angeles, but ended up there. Never thought I would stay for 28 years, ended up staying, but accumulated a lot of great experience along the way in marketing, sports and entertainment industries, and the creative space. And then another chapter opened, and here I am,
Wow.
back home again.
Wow. Back to the cold.
Back to then there's that.
Then there's that. So marketing has kind of been your main background, though. That's what you studied in school as well?
I did. I was a communications major at MSUM.
Okay. Gotcha. So bringing your marketing experience, what are some things that you're trying to implement into what we're doing here in Fargo and to try to enhance what Visit FM is doing? What skills can you bring to the table?
So it's a little bit of a multi-layered answer, and
Okay.
I think because coming back, this is a completely different community than when I left,
Yeah.
obviously. It's still, we as an organization represent 3 cities, West Fargo, Fargo, and Moorhead. Which means we work with 2 cities, 2 states, 3 mayors, 3 city councils/commissions, 2 county governments, 2 state, all the things, right? It's very complicated. Yeah. So that plays into everything and how we communicate, both locally to our residents and our partners and our stakeholders, as well as to the rest of the world. I think that I've been very excited to see how the organization actually operates across paid and owned, especially. We are now adding in earned, which the organization really hasn't had a structure around PR strategy other than being reactive. So that's one of the things that did a lot of work in PR across sport and entertainment in my background. So immediately we've started to build what that strategy looks like for 26 and beyond. It's important, as you guys know, this is a form of media, earned as well, even. It could be paid, but extremely important because we don't have the biggest budgets in the world, that we leverage every tool that we have in the toolkit to actually, create awareness about our community across the region, across the nation, and I even throw in internationally because we do have an international market as well.
Sure. Okay.
I would love to touch on, you talked about, you were gone for almost 30 years and you come back and you said it's very different.
Yeah.
So for the younger audience, for guys who are our age, who weren't about around 30 years ago looking at that, what are some of the biggest changes you've seen in Fargo-Moorhead? Like, what are just a couple things that you'd be like night and day different?
Well, first of all, just the explosive growth. I remember when Blue Cross Blue Shield was like out in the sticks in town, right? If you know where they are off of 13th Avenue and I think 42nd, 45th, whatever it is, that was like they are in the way outside of town. So just the explosive growth, the even in Dilworth and Horace and all of our surrounding communities, West Fargo, everything, right? Just the growth has been crazy. The other thing for me, 2 other buckets especially, the corporation growth. We have 9 $1 billion companies in this town.
9.
So I've heard
Wow.
10, I've heard 9. So the chamber says 9, so I'm going to go with 9.
Okay.
So think about that, whether it's an Aldevron or a Microsoft or an RDO or, all the 9 of those, what that does to a community from a workforce perspective, from a investment back into the community. So think about all the places you see Sanford sponsoring or Bell Bank sponsoring or RDO, all the money that's put back into the community to make it better for residents. And I would say also better for visitors. So that explosive corporation growth is amazing. And I think I know when I tell my friends that don't live here, they're like, no way. And I'm like, yes. Thirdly, we do so much work in the sports space and in sport tourism and bringing tournaments of all kinds, whether it's hockey or softball, USA Wrestling, which has been around for 31 years. So I know you guys are probably familiar with that. The growth in actual facilities that we have, the new Fargo sports facility that's out on 64th, I think that's where it's at. Just that alone, 2 sheets of hockey, volleyball, basketball, pickleball, soccer in one contiguous space. That's just one facility. The aquatic center that has an Olympic size, competition facility. So that was amazing to me and one of the draws. And we had stuff, but we didn't have that level. And even with NDSU now being at the level that it's at in competition on the sports side, mixed in with Concordia and MSUM, just the higher education facilities that we have, not only for higher education, but also for sports and other events that we can partner with them on. So that was crazy to me. And I didn't even realize, even though I would be back once or twice a year, really what was here. Throw in Blue Stem, throw in, some of the other facilities. And now, obviously, that the community has committed to agreeing that we should build a convention center is another big project for us. And we can talk a little bit more about, but just the overall explosion in growth has just been amazing. I call this job a old comfortable shoe, but that's bedazzled. It's a very girl thing to say, but it feels comfortable to be in this role, even though I wasn't the CEO before, but I worked here in sales and marketing. But then it's so brilliant and magical in all the things that we have to sell and to talk about in storytelling. So that's what's been really exciting about rediscovering.
Sure. How do you, the one challenge that I can see is, how do you and your organization really measure success? Is maybe it's a easy answer, but is it based on how many people relocated here? Is it how many events you hosted, or what really does success look like? How can you measure that?
It's a very, very good question. And I think every destination marketing organization such as ourselves has different ways to look at it. I have come in and I think we should look at it slightly differently than we do. We are funded by lodging tax. So 3% lodging tax on any hotel room. And we also receive tax from Airbnbs and the short-term rentals. So our budget, we are basically in the easiest form here to drive lodging tax and put people in hotels. Now, that said, we are benched on that from an occupancy rate. So what is our citywide occupancy rate at the end of the year? We monitor that weekly, by the way, and we can see spikes when things are up and down and maybe what's driving that, if it's Street Fair or Big Iron or USA Wrestling or it's international square hockey tournaments, right, that are here in the winter. Whatever that might be, we can see spikes in the visitation. So part of that would be, and my team and I are talking about this now, what can we do to affect, because I don't control hotel prices, I don't control the inventory, but what can we do to affect a higher occupancy rate? Because that will then generate more resources for us and money to market more and to sell more, right? Sure. We also are benchmark on what we bring to town and what we support. We don't have, it's interesting because it's hard with formal KPIs around a sales, piece of it, because we're not hardcore sales. Because again, we're at least at this point, because we don't have a facility, we have a community to sell, and we partner with our hotels and our facilities to do that. So it could be earned media KPIs that, what is our brand awareness in the marketplace and in the region and in the nation, looking at some of those sophisticated tools on the marketing side, as well as social media metrics and all the typical, earned, paid and owned. And then I would also say how many new people that we are bringing. Something I'm going to talk about with my team next year is how many new organizations, events are we bringing in? The ones that are here are really important because you have to keep them. It's where customer service comes into play, but also how many new things are we generating to talk about, even if it takes us 5 years to get them here, but how are we starting new conversations?
Sure. When you say events, do you mean like concerts, hockey tournaments? Like what events do you mean when you say that? So
we as an organization have 4 different pillars that we work with. So we have our visitor center, basically where anybody that comes through Fargo-Moorhead and stops at our facility, we service them with all the information that they might need. So that's basically our leisure market that we're talking to. We then educate them on all the things going on for consumers, whether that's the street fair or that's Chris Kindle Market or that's the Saturday event that the weekend markets that Folkways does, whatever it might be, the fair, whatever it might be. We also sell to sporting events, tournament directors, national events that might be coming that are looking for a facility to bring their competition. USA Swimming, USA Wrestling, other large national governing bodies that oversee those types of competitions around the nation, even potentially around the world. For instance, next summer when 28, when USA Wrestling is here, those times will change because of the Olympics, because they're so involved in what happens at the Olympic wrestling. Those are all dynamics that fit into everything we do. We also support those local events, as well as we do support and assistance when the tournaments come to town, and whether that's through helping them with their check-in, giving them badges, giving them signage for, at the airport or at all their venues that they're going to be at. We have a hotel booking system that the tournament directors can say you can only book your hotel through this. So making that ease of use for people who register and for the teams to make sure all the players can be in one hotel kind of thing. So any type of event, but we classify it as sports and competition, and then we talk about meetings and conventions. So whether it's the North Dakota Sheriff's Association or it's the Regional Association of Hat Makers, you name it, there's an association for something. So those are the other types of organizations, and then corporate events. We don't do a lot of those, but we'll support those. So if there's a national sales conference that one of our local corporations is bringing in, and it's hundreds of people, we can support that as well.
Sure. Go ahead, Joseph.
Oh, so I have just a random question. So you talked about you measure occupancy every weekend. How do you guys measure that? I've always wondered that, like I said, big tournament comes to town or big Bison game comes on, and we go out and I go, oh geez, well frickin' mall's packed today, but I would have no idea how to gauge like how many people actually came over the weekend. What metrics are you guys using for that?
It's an industry standard that there are measurement tools that are, Destinations International and other sort of in travel and tourism industry organizations that have those measurement tools that we tap into. Okay. So, they have the ways that they work with the hotel associations and all the other things. We also, we can also track Canadian travel, across the border, those sorts of things that we monitor very closely. So there's just resources out there that are immense that we can tap into, which is great for organizations like us that are small and don't have the people. But, if we can tap into these resources that are scaled because of everyone they serve, it makes it a lot easier for us.
Could you give us a number of so Fargo-Moorhead, we're ballparking like 250,000 in the whole metro, depending on how you do that. So what would like a really busy weekend here look like? Like how many people would you say would be a lot for Fargo? If there was something busy going on?
Well, USA Wrestling is like 8,000 wrestlers and their families, over the 10 days, I think it is. So that's an example. Again, squirt hockey, you'll have, I might get this wrong, so I apologize, 64 to 75 teams that come in from all over. So if you looked at occupancy last year in 2024, and we're right around this, and this is public knowledge, we talk about it at our annual meeting, occupancy was about 62%. So there might be a weekend at 75, and there might be a weekend that it's in the 50s, right? It's obviously that average of what happens over the year or over the cycle. So we have data that can show us what's happening for the week, what's happened for the month, what's happened for the quarter, what's happened for the year to date as well. So that's kind of, again, tools that are industry standards that we tap into, because then we're measuring at the same standards as Los Angeles or Minneapolis or Omaha.
Interesting. Okay.
I was
Helpful?
What's that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was good. When you had mentioned dealing with 2 different governors, different mayors, I mean, that seems like a major challenge to me, because there's obviously different political spectrums, there's different opinions. Is that something that you actually enjoy doing, or is it a challenge?
I love it.
Really?
For me, I loved it when I was here the first time, because it makes it so much more dynamic. Yes, it can be harder because people are people, and it's the people of it all. It's end of the day, I believe relationships are key, and trust. Building those relationships, having open dialogue and communication, understanding the other person's point of view, and if you don't agree with it. My job as the CEO of this organization is to do what's best for our mission of our organization. At the end of the day, it should also match what's good for our communities. And one vision to me is very important. I think we do have 3 communities, which makes it a lot harder. But the dynamics to me, that is exciting, because I love people and all of that stuff that goes with it. And to have the opportunity to have a seat at the table is amazing.
Sure. In a perfect world, what resources do you need today to do your job the most effectively? Is it money? Is it time? Like, what do you need to?
We always need more time.
Right.
And we always need more money.
Of course.
Right?
But
Everybody's going to
what's
say
the
money
one
and time.
tool that you're like, if I could just get this, or if the community could just do this, or if there's got to be something that comes to mind?
Another really good question. I think part of that has been answered, and that's the convention center.
Okay.
This community has needed more space for meetings. I feel like we've been talking about it since I left the first time. There are North Dakota state associations that we cannot host in this city, the biggest city in the state of North Dakota, because we don't have enough contiguous space.
Okay.
So that means it's bigger than in a hotel, or you know what I mean? It's bigger than the Holiday Inn, it's bigger than the Delta, it's bigger than the Radisson, it's bigger than our biggest facilities that we have here. So that to me is a tool in the tool chest that we will now have as a facility that we've never had before. We need more time and people, because we're very small, and that's why we lean into we partner with Grand Forks, or we'll partner with Bismarck, or we'll partner with each of the states, because we can't afford to do what we need to do on our own. So some of the international marketing things that we do, we partner with the state of North Dakota, because they make it easier for us to be in those places. Same with the Minnesota side, but in a different shape or form. Partnering with the chamber on things, partnering with the EDC on things from a workforce. Workforce is extremely important in the hospitality industry. Our people visit here, they go shop, they eat, they experience. And if those venues or locations or businesses don't have the workforce they need, that affects our visitors, which then in turn could have a negative effect on them wanting to come back. So that's extremely important. So partnering with any kind of partner we can locally is super important with us to help give us more time and money. And then I would say more money.
Yeah.
Because it is, how do we be in all the places that we need to be? How do we market the way that we want to market? And that some of that is earned, some of that is paid. We can do a lot with our own socials, which we've done a really good job of, and we've got a lot coming around that next year, but definitely it's resources, and I think that's a common theme with anybody. But again, we will have an amazing new facility that we will have that will definitely give us more to work with whenever that opens.
Okay.
Yeah. So you don't have a timeline on that convention center? I guess I remember reading about it, but I don't.
Yeah, so just to give you context, in case you or your listeners don't know, about a year ago, the voters passed the ability for us to levy another 3% lodging tax. So it's lodging tax. So we're adding from 3%, we'll go to 6%. So this is a tax that the visitors will pay. It's not a sales tax on a residence in Fargo only to build the convention center. After that was approved, a committee was put together led by my predecessor, Charlie Johnson, who's still involved with this for another couple months until we get to a certain stage, just because it's been 10 years in the making. We have a variety of members from the community on this committee that at the end of the day will make a recommendation to the city commission about who they think should win the bid. Now, when it comes to the bid, they put out an RFP. They had 9 builders that responded. Listened to all 9 of the proposals, and then, which I listened to even before I started, just, remotely, which was super interesting. So I was able to either catch up either real time or later. The committee went through iterations of questions and answers and all the things with the first round of the RFP, and then made a recommendation for 4 to move to the next round. So we were down to 4 potential locations / builders. They're now in the second round of the RFP, where they've been given additional questions to answer. It's all on the city website, so it's very, it's open to the public to see what the next step is. And they are now going through the process of answering those questions. We meet again as a committee in early January to answer any questions that they've submitted back. Then they have until February to finish their RFP responses, and then we meet to listen to all 4. Knock wood, we have a recommendation that goes to the city commission in March, and in March there's, knock wood, hopefully a decision on who they want to move forward with in partnership as a builder. It's a public and private endeavor as well. So not only is the convention center part of it, but the requirement was that they have a private partnership, to build a hotel to be either connected or right next to, which would be the private partnership. So it has to have a hotel attached or within very close proximity of it in order to have made it, and probably in order to be picked as well.
So you said that's public information. Who can you name the 4 builders who they're down to?
Yeah, it's on the website. So it's down to the Dome location and adding on the convention center to the Dome. The second location is downtown and actually refurbishing the Civic Center.
Wow.
Okay.
That is actually the Kilbourne Group team that is doing that in conjunction with their architects. It is the third choice is the team at Bruhala, putting the convention center just west of Bruhala, so right on that same side.
Huge area there for sure.
That's the third option. And then the fourth is working with Enclave and the developers and Metro Area Sports Foundation and right by Shields Arena. So putting it in that area and attaching it either via walkway or all that. Again, a hotel needing to be close to all these locations.
I'm assuming they would fill that whole parking lot at the Shields Arena then. I thought there was a science museum going there too or something at some point.
It's been proposed. Yes, there's ideally room for everything. Yes. So, Science Museum is still in their development, fundraising. They're still working on that, which I think it's going well, but they're not quite ready yet, I don't believe. And so, but that is still proposed there for sure. I think even with the Dome, you don't really think there's as much room there as there is, right? So, so those are the 4 builders / locations partners that it's down to those 4.
Wow. Those are some big builders. That'd be a huge project for Fargo.
It's going to be amazing. Yeah. So anybody again can go to the city website and all the information is there if they wanted to have some homework and dig into it a little bit. But every builder and the architects have their own ideas, which is exciting to see. As an organization, we just want it to happen. So assuming we'll have a great partnership with whoever the builder operator is and work hand in hand every day to make sure the thing is full. The minute as I've been telling everybody, the minute either we decide who that partner is or the city commission does, or there's a shovel in the ground, we'll start marketing.
Okay. How many people are on your staff? I mean, if it's a large number, I don't need to know the exact amount, but how many are on your staff working under you? Are you hiring? Are you looking for more people to get involved in your organization, or where do you guys sit as far as staffing?
Yeah, we have 12.
Okay.
So right now, we have a lot of people that have been there a long time, which is really nice because there's consistency, and we have some that are newer, and then you throw myself in there. We have a very smart team, very excited again at the levels that they're working. We also have the visitor center team that's there that we manage, obviously, day in and day out with that facility. We see thousands of people that come through the visitor center doors every year. And for looking for us right now, we're not in the hiring mode right now.
Sure.
My goal is that we will be in the next year with the convention center, whenever that kicks off, and that we'll be able to add to our team to help sell that space.
Okay. So if you don't mind, I kind of want to change gears here. So obviously you're the real deal. You've made this amazing career for yourself. But what I want to know is, for someone like Joseph and I who want to be successful, and other people of our age group that are just trying to take that next step in their career, if you think back to 20-some-year-old Shirley, what would you have done different, or what would you have done more of to get to the level that you have? I mean, what's the secret? Is there a secret?
I think the secret, number one, is being authentic to yourself. Don't try to be anybody else. And I think that's really hard to tell a young person sometimes. Yeah. So that's super important. I think I did what I thought I would never do, and I picked up and moved out of the safety of my world. For me, I did that for a variety of reasons. I was ready. It was time. I knew if I didn't do it then, I'd never do it. So I took that leap. I think, again, stay true to yourself. I think it's okay to make mistakes. And it's okay to stretch yourself and make a mistake versus never to stretch yourself. And I know that puts people out of their comfort zone, but don't be scared. I was scared for a very long time. And even after I moved and I got into this big city and this industry of the entertainment industry that I was in for so long, you're like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Right? So there's that happens, but nobody does, quite frankly.
Yeah.
So just to be okay with that. And then I think consistency is key. Messaging is consistent. Relationships are about consistency. How you show up every day. We all have bad days, but how you show up every day and consistent is really important. And I think the older you get, maybe the easier that is, because you feel on 2 feet about who you are and your skills and your accomplishments. But just being consistent. I finally will say, and this is an old thing that people say, but people are people. And while other people might have bigger titles or more experience, but everybody goes home at night and goes, oh, what a day. Or, oh my God, the kids they're going to have Cheerios for dinner. Or whatever it might be, everybody has those things. And people are people. And that's why I think the relationship building is so important.
Yeah. I think the one thing that we've noticed talking to these highly successful people is you guys are so willing to talk to us and give us advice. Like it almost doesn't seem like that's possible, that people of your level, like, oh, we would never get in a room with that person, or why would they give us their secrets? But you want to share your knowledge and your success. And Joseph and I really appreciate you doing that.
Oh,
and,
yeah,
and
not
showing
a
up
problem.
here.
Listen, I had really good mentors. I've had some bad ones. I've had bad leaders. I've had really good leaders, and I have really bad. I think you learn from both. I had people along the way that were like, come on, we're going to help you. And then I had people that shut the door in my face. And I think I remember I want to do what the good mentors did for me. And that's whatever it might be for anyone. And you never know how that's going to change somebody's day, life, career. You don't know. Yeah. Even if it's just having a conversation with an intern that's still in college, you don't know what they're going to take from your conversation. I would also say, as you guys garner your fame is people listen. And when they look up to you, or even they think, oh my God, how did these guys build this podcast? Or how did she have her career? Like, people are listening to things you wouldn't even imagine they're listening to. And that hit home for me in my 2 jobs ago, and I was running a very large global organization, and I tried to make time for some of the juniors that I didn't get as much time to, or I just wasn't around enough. But, you know, and I would come out of meetings and someone would come up to me and go, 2 months ago in a meeting, you said X, whatever I said. And I'm like, oh, wow. Like, that was a passing comment, or it was whatever. And they're like, that really hit me and that really struck me. And you're just like, people listen. So just remember, people are listening, and that's a good thing, you know, and be mindful how you can influence people from the power that you have with your voice.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Joseph, you had a question, you maybe a little fun. We like to end our podcast on kind of like a fun
Let's do
note.
it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
So Joseph, what do you got for
on kind of the lighter side of things? So obviously being in California for all those years, totally different lifestyle over there. It's probably a totally different world, honestly. So coming back to North Dakota, kind of your roots, kind of the Midwest, very just North Dakota-ish. What is the food and restaurant that you miss the most in the Midwest?
Oh, there's so many restaurants. Well, the food. I've always kind of been like meat and potatoes, like I don't stray too far. I love a good steak like that. You know, probably why I married a farmer from Missouri who, you know, grew up in a cattle farm, right? Very like-minded, even though we both lived in California forever. I think probably, and there's no shade, maybe there's one of these here and I just don't know, but like a really high-end sushi restaurant would be something that, you know, I kind of miss that experience, like that whole thing. There's many, my husband and I are foodies. And so even in COVID, we went out a lot because my husband's in the food industry. We wanted to support that industry. And so we go out all the time. Even here, we're like, okay, I got this lined up for us and this lined up for us, and just love restaurants and the experience and all of that. So that's a really hard question because I've got favorites. We lived in the beach community, got favorites at the beach. Yeah. And then there's like the urbanness of LA that too, you know, you just have your favorites depending upon the pockets. And then we spent a lot of times in Palm Springs, and that's a whole different vibe. So a lot of my favorites out there too. They're a little more old school, like kind of vibe to it.
Fun.
Awesome.
Well, thank you for coming in. Yeah, we really appreciate it.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shirley.
Thanks, guys.